Mena Suvari, welcome to An Actor Despairs. How are you doing?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for having me.
It's such an honor to have you. You're like in a titan. I have so much respect for you and the work that you do. It's so rare that an actress has depth and is also able to conquer comedy, drama, thriller, horror, and your career is incredible. You're a huge reason that I got into acting. I grew up watching your films. American Beauty was like one of the first movies I saw when I was like, I think it was like 11 when that came out. And
Sounds
yeah,
young.
my parents are cool. They were pretty rock and roll. But remember you and Wes Bentley just stood out so much to me. Everyone was great, but obviously, what a character. And then 6 Feet Under is, you know, one of the best shows of all time. And then American Pie, great comedy back when those movies got made, and now with The Accursed, it's so cool and it's a real honor and it means a lot to me that you're here.
Thank you. You're so nice. Can I talk to you every day?
Yeah, please. I do free therapy, especially for people that live in LA, they need it. But
Yeah, exactly.
if it's okay with you,
I normally feel so bad about myself. Thank you.
good. I'm hoping to lift that by the end, if not already. But let's start at the beginning. Where did you grow up?
I guess I kind of grew up all over. I was born in Rhode Island and I lived there till I was about 8. And then I lived in St. John in the Virgin Islands for about a year, but didn't have third grade. And then we went back to Rhode Island and I had fourth and fifth grade there. And then we moved to Charleston, South Carolina. So I had middle school in Charleston and then we moved to LA after that.
And was that at all tied in like to any desire to pursue something in the business, or it just happened to be LA?
Yeah, no. So when I was young and living in Rhode Island, I did a little bit of child modeling
Oh
and
wow. Like
just
print or
I did a regional commercial. That was my first commercial and I was 7. And then but then I lost my 2 front teeth and so they let me go.
you must love that Christmas song then.
Like bring her back when she has teeth. I don't know, whatever. I was never a good model. So then we just life course took us to Charleston and I attended an all-girls school called Ashley Hall. And there was a modeling representative from a local modeling agency called Millie Lewis that came to just pitch this basic modeling class. And it seemed like something fun to do with a girlfriend of mine. The agency was close to where I was living at the time in West Ashley. And so I just started going for fun and then it basically snowballed. They wanted me to join the agency. So I had my first photo shoot. And then very soon after that, coming up within a couple months, they were having a modeling competition, a nationwide modeling competition. So they wanted me to attend. It was in Hilton Head. They wanted me
I went there with my sister. I remember that.
Oh, what?
Yeah. Yeah, my sister did modeling. I didn't know that. That's so crazy.
I'm like, not the same year, right?
No. I just remember, that's the only time I've been to Hilton Head in my life.
Yeah. So
yeah.
I mean, I didn't know any of this. Like, again, I'm in 6th grade. So they wanted me to go and so I entered all these categories like commercial or runway. There was makeup. And I did very well. I won a lot of awards, and then they had a day on the weekend where you would meet the agencies. I think there were like 18 top agents, and they all wanted to meet with me except a couple. And all of them basically said, "We'll take her at 5'6". I was only 5'2" at the time. I'm only 5'4" now, so I didn't grow. I told you I was never a good model, but I'm not like Will. Sorry, Will. I didn't make it, Will. Will's got to give me some tips. Anyway, so so they all said we'll take her at 5'6" because I think that Kate Moss had kind of hit the scene and changed, whatever the requirement. And and then I met with Wilhelmina, and they had a kids division called Wee Willies, and they signed me. They signed me as in their kids division. And so that coming summer, because I think this was like the top of the year in January or something.
This is into middle school now, or?
I'm in 6th grade. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And so that summer of, I'm so confused. Maybe I'm in 7th grade by now, but I went the first summer I went to New York with my parents under Wee Willies, and I did an Oscar de la Renta ad, and I did something else. I did just a little bit of work, and then the next summer they said, "Why don't you try going out to Los Angeles?" Because they had a commercial division.
Okay.
And like I told you, I wasn't getting any taller. And they said, why don't we just, have her try that for the summer? And I came out here to LA. I was 14 before my freshman year, and I booked a Rice-A-Roni commercial. And that gave me, I was a principal. I was cast as a principal. Not, I was a student, but I was a principal character, a lead.
Back when they were SAG commercials, right?
And so that gave me my SAG card.
Wow.
And they said, you should consider moving out here. Like, it takes people so long to get a commercial. You should really consider it. It was this whole thing. And the decision was made. So I went back to Charleston, and I had a couple months of my freshman year there. And then I transferred out here.
Were you comfortable, because I've had a lot of, people that started in modeling on the show, like, is that, I don't know how you want to classify it, but did you feel like a level of performance or performativity to it? Like, were you enjoying that aspect, when
I was,
but, getting like, photographed or, doing the SAG commercial, like, I know it's not acting in the classical sense of the term, but, did you feel an inclination towards performance, I guess is the question that I'm really asking.
Yeah, no, and it's a great question. I just wish I could give you like the perfect answer. And I think, so I wrote a book about my life. It's called The Great Piece. And I tried to start from the beginning. And so it's hard for me to answer these questions because
I apologize. I'm sorry.
No.
Yeah.
I apologize.
Yeah.
It's only hard for me to answer it because I know that it's very mystifying for others. And I that's why, I wrote the book because I needed to do it for myself, but I believe that's why I needed to communicate it, is because there's so much, I don't know, maybe like mystery around that. I think that for me, I didn't have that sense. I know what you mean, but I didn't necessarily have that. I think that, and this is what I tried to write about and communicate, is that, there was a whole, there's a whole trajectory up until I got to LA at 14. There was so much that I had already experienced. And I think that personally, I was so used to adapting. That was my skill. And I was always sort of in a state of survival. I talk about something that happened to me when I was just shy of my 13th birthday. I was only 12. So basically my life, personal life, completely crashed to the ground, and my professional life took off. And so it only took until, I was about 40 when I decided to really write about my life, because I'd just been going. I was so used to what I learned how to do was do what was asked of me. And that was the process of it. When I was in Ashley Hall in 6th grade, I chose medical research on career day. Wow. I didn't choose theater. I never saw that for myself. I was much more like literal minded. I wanted to study science, things like this. My father was a psychiatrist. Like, I was always.
They weren't in the business at all, right?
No,
yeah.
I never thought that for myself. But I think that acting and modeling, like when I did some of it when I was very young, it was probably a really fun outlet for me.
Totally.
It was a great way for me to express myself because I wasn't, I think if I were to make any kind of like assumptions, I wasn't really given that space to do that in my own personal life.
Yeah,
So
but
getting in front of a camera, like being someone else or turning it on, I don't know. I think it was a good outlet for me, and it was something that I learned how to do. I talk about this in the book. My first photo shoot when I was 12, hearing things like she looks 18, like, all of that created a mindset. And
like a traumatic one, or
well, I remember being in New York, and I'm 13, and I would just go into we stayed at the Gramercy Park
Park
Hotel
Hotel? Oh
before
man,
it was renovated, and we
wow.
stayed in the back part where it was the long-term stay, and they gave you the key to that little park across the street, the little private
Yeah,
park.
Gramercy Park. Yeah,
Yeah, and I
yeah.
would go and I would sit there with a book, and I would just sit. I always remember being very alone. So I didn't have any way to talk about any of that or process any of that, or really, like, I wasn't in that, like, I know what you mean. I had to figure all that out later. I didn't have that guidance around me, and I didn't have that mindset of like, this is strategic. Like when I read American Beauty, I never watched the Oscars. I never thought about awards. I never was like, oh, this script's going to be successful. It's going to make a lot of money, or I could be nominated. Like, I didn't think like that. I literally thought, oh, I know how to play Angela, and I'm just so happy to have a job. Like, it was so basic. It was just survival for me
But
that
there's a
I didn't get to enjoy it really, you
well,
know.
that part's sad, but there is also a beauty just to kind of being naive to that there's success in that, because there's so many people that are so hungry for that. It takes away from the sincerity of it. You know what I mean? It's like you genuinely.
Yeah, it's very weird. I mean, I know what you mean. I always felt like my job was to be there for others, and that's what I did.
Even on that film.
Yeah, I just learned how to yeah, this is I
That's fascinating because you're incredible in that movie. You have so much, there's so much existence behind your character, and you just see she's kind of been through the ringer and you feel
with
for her.
American Beauty, or
Yeah, and I would never guess that you didn't feel comfortable. I was like, this girl's the future of Hollywood. I mean, this
well,
woman.
I write about that in the book, because a lot of people, and I knew that that would be very surprising, but yeah, no, I was in a very, very, very dark place at that point in my life, and I truly and that's why for some reason, like, I ended up in this line of work, but I'm very grateful for it because it saved me in so many ways. If I didn't have those jobs, if I didn't have those sets to disappear into, I don't know what would have happened. I mean, American Pie and American Beauty, especially then at that time, really saved me.
Would you say that, obviously you had one job when you're shooting it, and then very similar to what we're doing now, another job when it comes out, having maybe seeing the film and then seeing the end result, did that change your approach and your
No, I still
experience?
didn't get it. I remember when
Wow.
American Beauty came out, and I remember people at the premiere telling me, I know I'm a case, I get it, but like,
No, it's amazing. I love
I'm
it.
just telling you the truth.
Not the trauma part.
I thought that people were saying, congratulations, this is amazing. And I was like, okay. Because I honestly didn't care for that. It wasn't going to be the answer that I always needed if I became famous. I didn't care about that. I cared about the work. I cared about the collaborative effort. I cared about, the day to day. I didn't want to be known like that. It was very strange. And I remember, you know, um, people talking about how successful, and because American Pie came out right before American Beauty, and I genuinely thought that every movie made $100 million. Like, I'm not kidding you. I was just like, whatever, like, cool, they're successful, great.
Yeah.
I had more important things to do in my life, like try to figure out how to survive the day.
Wow.
Like at that point in my life, there was so much repair that needed to happen. And so that's why, like, nobody really noticed because I was so good at just doing my job and hiding,
Great. Yeah. I mean, you're
you know?
truly exceptional. And yeah, I didn't know that in order of American Pie. And obviously, for those that aren't in the business, usually when you're under 18 on a set, you have to get tutoring X amount of hours that you work. So not being in high school at that time, was American Pie kind of a high school experience on filming that, or also just
Yeah,
there to be.
I had just graduated.
Okay, so you
Graduated. Yeah, I graduated in 97. But I know what you mean. I was working throughout high school. I did have tutors that just sucked or like never showed up. They're
wow.
always like those people, but you still got your hours in.
Yeah.
No, I had graduated in 97, and I wanted to just I didn't like, I wasn't set to just go into college. I hadn't figured any of that out for myself. And so I thought, you know what, I'm just going to take a year off and like figure out what I want to do. And during that time, I just focused on my job, which was all I ever knew how to do, was act. And I booked American Pie and then American Beauty back to
Wow,
back. So I was 18.
that's amazing.
Yeah. But
What
American Pie, it did. I always kind of said that, like it gave me my high school experience. And I couldn't talk about that then in the way that I can now. I had to play that up.
yeah.
I was Heather and everything was roses. But my life,
Singing
my
choir.
life was very opposite. It was
Wow.
very opposite. So
And you mentioned, that your life is, and I totally understand why, because if you look at your IMDb, it's just go, 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 go. At what point, after American Pie, American Beauty, did you start to kind of recognize and maybe, okay, I'm an actor, my job is performance, like how do I have fun with this? Or did that not come for a really long time?
no,
Because
I remember those moments, but it felt sort of like it did feel confusing because again, I didn't have that support around me to really like educate me into any of that or guide me. It was just sort of like, well, what do you want to do? And I was like, well, I don't know. So I was just
yeah,
kind of like, just figuring it out. What I did know at the time was that at least some of my heart needed to be in a project, or like I just couldn't do it. And it felt like after American Pie and American Beauty, there was sort of a push to like play this type of role. I feel like things were, I don't know, for me it was a bit different then. Like it was sort of like you've got the pretty girl who has no substance, and then there was like her best friend, the charactery one, who's like intelligent. Like it was just these really weird portrayals of people, I feel like.
very myopic Hollywood
Yeah,
classic.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, and I just knew that I wasn't passionate about pursuing things that I felt like would have been more that. Like I just wanted to challenge myself. And so
Totally.
I pushed myself I worked on for instance, I worked on a project that Jonas Ackerlund directed called Spun, where I played a methamphetamine addict. And that was shocking. That wasn't, from I think the impression that was given then, that wasn't like the move to be made,
Yeah.
because we have to play
There's an
this.
archetype you have to fulfill to play the game,
Yeah.
as they
So
say.
that was sort of like, why are you're going to play a drug addict? You're the girl from American Beauty. You're going to play a drug addict? I was like, yeah, because I'm an actor,
Yeah, it's acting.
not myself. But like, yeah. So that I feel like, I don't know, but I'm very Aquarian. So I own it. I'm like all over the place. And I have very unique interests that others don't share, and that's fine. So those were, I think that it kind of, if you were to label it anything, it was more like independent filmmaking content, because those were the stories that interested me. Those were the characters that interested me. And so I pursued that. I did have a moment where I just felt like I don't care how much you want to pay me or how big this production would be. There's
The
no
equivalent of a
substance.
Marvel movie now, or,
It just felt there was no substance for me. So as
totally.
an actor, I just felt like, you know what, this isn't what I wanted to do.
And do you feel like, pun intended, you had to take agency to seek those projects out because your reps probably didn't want you to do them otherwise?
No, they were there, but I think it was just like that's unusual.
Yeah. Kind of warning you, oh, this could
Well,
be.
people didn't warn me, but I just think that that's the temperature with most people. If they're given a sure thing, why not ride it out?
Yeah,
You
totally.
don't want to do something that's
The
different.
safe bet, if you will.
Yeah, you don't want to do something that's different and challenging and we're unsure of. But
And
I like living in that space. It's much more interesting to me.
And while this train is just taking, or the plane really is just flying, are you still in LA? Like during these times off from these projects, like, are you able to get some time to yourself and just kind of recover, especially with press tours for films like American Beauty and American Pie, they just go on and so famous, you're everywhere on billboards, I imagine, especially in LA, that's really hard to escape.
I just think that's so weird. It's so cool, like talking about it now, but it's so weird. Yeah,
It is weird.
it is weird.
Yeah.
It didn't add any more to my character.
I love that though. That's why you're a
Anything for
great
me.
human.
You know what I mean? Like it's something that is, I think so many people are so focused on, and it's the journey. I remember being in Vegas once, and I was at a party, and this guy, I didn't even know him. He walked right up to me and he looked me dead in the eye and he said, "I will do whatever it takes to become famous." And I think my heart stopped. I just thought, wow. And this was before Twitter.
Yeah.
This was before social media.
God.
So I'm just talking to you honestly.
This is why I created this.
I don't understand that because that was never really an objective for me. I was just trying to survive my life and find some stability somewhere. And, and I knew how to work hard, and so, it's still this journey that I'm on of like, it's fun for me. Like I now really enjoy what comes to me. Like, and here we are with Accursed.
Yeah.
I don't know that somebody would have thought of me for a project like this, but it's fun for me to try to figure that out. Like that's cool and interesting, and I try to work with that. I try to be open to it. Yeah, instead of I don't know, I think the wisdom that I've garnered for myself is like I like to live my life more with ease. And to me, I'm very spiritual. I feel like there's so much communication, that we always have, and I don't want to be too limiting in my views or too controlling or forceful. I'm like trying to make something that wouldn't ever be,
Yeah.
So it's fun for me to just kind of experience this, and I use Accursed as an example to be like, wow, it's like one of the most intense things that I've ever read. And
let's talk about it. How did it come your way?
The script was sent to me and I was shocked. I thought like, oh my God, like, wow, you thought of me for Alma and she's such an intense character, but like, that's cool to me.
Yeah.
I like that challenge. I personally don't want to be thought of to play one thing over and over, and that's also in conjunction with what I was trying to communicate earlier. I felt like there was just so much more I wanted to show or experience. And be a part of, I wasn't just Angela or I wasn't just Heather,
Yeah.
And so when I read Accursed, I've always loved the horror genre. So it was like always
And you've done dabble, like American Horror Story, you've done and other experience. It wasn't your first proper.
No,
Yeah.
I've grown up loving horror. I guess if anything, I thought because of some of the things that, Alma ends up doing in this film and the allusions that you can see to other, filmmaking within
Totally.
Accursed. I thought like that is so cool to be a part of.
Yeah. It's a dream to do something like that. And when you got that, I imagine, so much of that comes to life on the set, but was it immediately something that you're like, I want to do this?
Oh yeah. I mean, I remember talking to Kevin and I was like, you want to do what? Like some of these moments. I mean, I don't know if can I give anything away or
That's a Caroline question. Caroline, can we talk spoilers?
I don't know if I can.
Maybe a little. I guess it just depends.
When is the movie like officially launch?
Well, it's out.
Okay, so then we can talk. Yeah. All right. So, all right. It's an incredible film that starts off one way and you think it's going to be one thing, but it's kind of a bait and switch narrative. And I love that, So when you were attached and not coming in till the 30-minute marker, was that something that like concerned you at all? Like that it was
No, because I don't look at things like that.
I love that. I love that. That's amazing. That's like sincerity, which is so rare in this business. And so
but like that all needs to go. You know what I mean? That is that old dynamic. And I was talking about this earlier in another interview, like and also working on the Accursed, and I call them my Sarahs, but Beth, Sarah Dumont, who played Beth, and Sarah Gray, who plays Ellie. But to me, like they're like the the younger generation, the next generation, and just seeing like how present and again like accepting and open and passionate about the project and like on the ground with everyone. That's awesome. Not this like, oh, you can't look at me on set, or
God,
you can't talk to me, or like it's like it's so exhausting.
It's
like
insane.
That's the whole thing that I've never
bought into that. Yeah. And for you, when you get an interesting role, specifically like, one that's a character that's very far from yourself, I totally understand if you don't want to talk about it, but what is your process? Do you like to rehearse and kind of figure it out, or is it something that you work with the director specifically on, or does it change every piece by piece?
For me, the more information, the better. Because I just love it all. Probably too much so. I don't know. Like,
no, it's what makes you a great
actor. I ask too many questions. That's my Aquarian mind. But I mean, as much as anybody wants to give me, I love rehearsing. I love having as many conversations as possible. I know there's all these like weird politics, but I've always loved to like talk to the writer if I can, as well as the director,
I love that.
Because I just, the more information, the better. The more I have a foundation that I can go from, I love that. And it doesn't mean that I don't have ideas to bring to the table. But again, there's that dynamic of like, what does the actor want to do? What does the actor think? Oh, it's only their opinion. No, like I love working with the director. I love working with the writer. Like I'm, especially in it's case specific, but if I'm not the producer on it, you've hired me as an actor. I'm here for you. I sometimes get so thrown off by these dynamics that I see on set, and I'm like, wait a minute, like, what are we doing? We're trying to communicate somebody else's vision. So I love to come in and really be there for them, unless it's something that's like, we can all bring our ideas to the table, but I love to just be really open and see what they have. And that just creates it for me. In reference to the Accursed, I mean, we shot in Savannah, #1. Like
that tree, I knew it was Georgia. Oh man,
you're already in the element. You know what I mean? You're already feeling that city, right? And
it's so gothic. It's perfect.
Yeah, and then meeting our hair and makeup and what are their thoughts on Alma. Oh, maybe we want her in this really severe tight bun, and then meeting our costumer, and I see these like suspenders with these stripes, and I was like, oh god, like all of that gives me an impression. And then I don't know, I just like do something with it. Like they just, when I had the outfit on, when you're there on the sets, when you're in the cabin, when you're feeling all that, that's how it comes alive for me. And that's my process. When it's like you're working with everyone and then you're there and you're feeling it, you're feeling that character's like wardrobe, you're feeling their world. And it just, I don't know, just kind of like,
It's kinetic. It all comes together.
yeah.
Yeah. And I'm curious then, going back to what you said earlier about, just being there for almost hire on the earlier project. On this one, did you feel the pleasure of existing in that world and collaborating, even though you said, Kevin had a very clear vision, was this an enjoyable shoot for you?
Yeah. I mean, I think that like in reference to my past, and the part that's still with me is just never feeling good enough. So I always had this sense of like, I mean, I remember thinking, dual thoughts of hearing about an offer and I'd be so excited. And in the back of my mind, I'd be thinking like, no, they don't really want me. It's just a joke or something.
Yeah.
So I always battled with that. And so I separated myself because of that fear and insecurity. And I would just kind of come in and like do my thing. I guess I just didn't feel like I deserved to be part of that conversation. So that's why, I didn't get to enjoy that. Like I was thinking, I'm so happy to have this job on American Beauty and everybody's just so nice.
Yeah.
But I also, again, what I wrote about in the book, I couldn't open up to anyone about my life then. I wasn't normal. I didn't know how to be, one of the things I talk about in the book.
Well, if it's okay, can we talk about the book? Like,
well, okay, so like while I was working on American Beauty, my boyfriend at the time was taking me to the strip club and telling me to get up on stage on amateur night and encouraging me to do that.
Jesus.
So that's just one example of like the headspace that I was in. So I didn't know how to own what I was doing. I didn't know how to be like, hey, I'm playing Angela and I got something to say. Like, I didn't know how to do that. I knew how to do my job because that's how I survived. So as I got older, yeah, I was like, I do have something to say and this is fun and I want to be a part of it. And, like it's so much more rewarding. I just had this whole impression of like, I don't know, it really, it was a weird thing that I suffered from. I never got to really enjoy that I never got to hang out with Thora or Wes in the way that I could have. I never got to hang out with anybody from American Pie in the way that I could have. I would just go and do my work because I had to survive this over here.
Wow. And I'm curious, because it all this, so much has happened between modeling and that starting at a certain point, when you're so big and you're working, was there ever a coach or a mentor or an artistic father or mother who came in and was kind of nurturing for you, even if they weren't, technically an acting teacher in the classical sense, just someone that was able to help you find catharsis in some way?
Trying to think. I mean, no, because like I talk about in the book, just a lot of relationships. I ended up getting married very young. Yeah, I was always just caught up in trying to create some kind of structure that felt solid around me. But no, if anything, I had to learn a lot of lessons the hard way.
I understand. I'm a recovering addict, so I know that experience, doing that myself. And I'm curious then, so then, so much of film and TV is catharsis, and eventually you get to this point where you want to write this book. And was the impetus then to kind of go back through and live those experiences as you wrote about them and kind of dig through and heal through that writing? Like, did you find it
Yeah,
healing?
I just felt like I needed to talk. I just couldn't do it anymore. I just couldn't act anymore. I couldn't pretend. I was so exhausted
Oh, I'm so
because,
sorry.
that was part of my survival mode. It's like, especially, doing press for American Pie or, American Beauty, or having like, it just was always a struggle to
A
fake it.
facade, if you will.
Yeah, I had to
Yeah.
fake it on how great my life was, and like, and it just felt like, but I was so used to that, I was like, oh, turn it on, play the game. I know how to do that.
Yeah.
But then I was just tired.
Yeah.
I was tired of this. I was tired of hiding. There was so many things that like I'd gone through in my life that it just wasn't fair to anyone. I didn't write the book for anyone but myself. And I know that that's very weird.
No, it's not at all. It.
Who writes a book and doesn't like, I don't care about the numbers, or like how do you promote a book about trauma? That's like exhausting,
Yeah.
like I'm grateful for people giving me the opportunity to do so, but I did it to move on. I did it because I wanted to have these conversations, because I'm not going to sit here and act like someone that everybody thinks, I am. And it's been really interesting, it's all like, a gifts in a way, and very rewarding, but um it's wild. But that's like why we're here, is to communicate with one another, right?
Yeah.
And
And thank you for sharing all this.
yeah, but it's mystifying when, and I'm happy to break that mold. If a lot of people thought this and that's not the reality, that's many times the truth.
yeah. And
So I'm hoping that we can, if anything, I'm writing my book was to just further some conversations that we need to have.
yeah, I understand. And thank you for doing that. And I'm curious, did writing the book then, like, do you feel like it ignited something in you? Do you still write?
I thought about writing about my birth because when I finished writing the great piece, I got pregnant. Ironically, and again, very wild. This is what I mean about the process of letting go.
Yeah.
I made space for something new, Um, and I never even thought I would write a book, so that happened. But then when my birth went down as such, I thought, wow, maybe I should also write about this too, because it just feels like I want to address a lot of things that I feel like people aren't addressing,
Yeah.
So yeah.
And would you could you ever see yourself doing a screenplay or a play or, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I've thought about that. I mean, even with the great piece, I originally wanted to, I thought about creating content in a way that it could be, inspired by my story.
Yeah.
Or
Like
I just
a
wanted to
show or
go,
a movie or some
yeah,
kind. Yeah,
yeah.
amazing.
But it was still a part of me of feeling like, maybe I can like share my story, but not share my story.
Like anonymously, so to speak.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then when I was sharing this idea, because I found my a binder that I had entitled "The Great Piece" back when I was a teenager, and it was poems and stories that I'd written, and then my diary, and so that's what inspired me to like think of this idea. Like, maybe I want to put this out there in some way. But then when I shared my diary and this binder that I had, I shared it with a friend, and they encouraged me to, they were like, you should really write this as a memoir. And I was like, but I'm only like 40. Okay. You want me to write my memoir? Does that mean I'm dying soon? I don't know what that means.
No, not at all. It means your existence has been,
So weird,
yeah. That's amazing. And thank you for writing it. I'm gonna look it up now and really dig into that book. And I have a few final questions for you. And I'm so grateful for your time. And thank you for coming on and sharing all this. It really means a lot to me, you opening up, you know? And it's very brave, the work that you're doing. And I
But I
appreciate.
appreciate this. And this is also in conjunction with why I did that, is because I want to live this next chapter, trying to help others.
That's literally my next question is, do you feel like now you've shifted into the next chapter of your life where you can have fun and enjoy this and do the work you want to do and fuck the bullshit, you know, and not, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm allowing more compassion for myself and that patience.
Yeah.
This whole idea of perfection, like, what is that? It doesn't exist. It never has. We
Yeah.
need to, and if we're so connected more than ever, let's just be compassionate with one another. And like, we gotta
We
break
need it.
some
Look at the
of
world right now.
yes.
And for all the young artists listening that are really inspired by everything that you said and relate to your experiences, I know this is a really tough question. I ask every guest this question. What advice would you give to a younger Mena if you could?
I know, like so much.
So I know that's probably like an essay right there,
I
but
would totally have read that. I mean, oh, I have learned, because I'm 43 now, how
you look
important
22.
you're so nice. But it's Zoom. And it's
No,
bright light in front of me. No.
Will told me. I texted him.
There's so it's so important to listen to intuition and your instinct. That is so real. Don't doubt those moments and those feelings for yourself. You have every right to be feeling them. You have every right to communicate how you feel. You have every right to bring whatever you want to the table. Those were all things that I didn't listen to, that I pushed down, I ignored. And the really fascinating but so tragic thing is I was the only one experiencing that.
Yeah.
And that's so worthless. It really is. It's so needless.
Yeah, but it's life, and things happen to us and we don't have control over the way we process things. That's just, how we're born. And you, I mean, the mountains you've climbed, it's amazing. And I'm so grateful for your time. You're a Titan and you're a real artist and you're in it for all the most beautiful, sincere reasons. And that's so fucking rare, and it's so badass. And I
But
got
let
so
me
much
say
love.
too that you're never alone. That's also a really big thing. I know what you mean on how we process those things, but I think in the way that I got so used to thinking that no one would listen or no one would do anything if I did ask. That's a big thing to overcome, Truly, I truly want people to know that there's always someone who will listen.
Yeah.
That person is out there,
No, it's super important. And if anyone hit me up, I'll listen to you. And thank you. And so your book is out and the Accursed, incredible film. It's so divine timing with Halloween. I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun. I totally see why you did it. What's next? Can you say? Do you
Yeah,
know?
I have a film called Breakwater coming out. I don't know the dates on any of these, but Breakwater, and then a beautiful film called The Dresden Sun that'll be coming out. And then I got to work on Reagan playing Jane Weinman, which was epic.
Amazing.
Yeah, so
Mena, you're crushing it. I'm so proud of you. And I really hope you're having a blast. And
sweet.
you
Thank you.
deserve nothing but happiness. And I'm so glad that we connected. And it means so much to me. And I hope one day, we get to work on something or grab a cup of coffee. And
Thank you. I
I'm
would
sending
love
you so
that.
much love.
I love it. I'm sure I'll see you again.
Yeah, for sure.